Hello, Aquarius. Thank you so much, you guys, for being here. And a big thank you to all of you who have followed me from the other channel. I love you guys and I appreciate you so very much. And Aquarius, my apologies for not uploading on the other channel. You, Sag, Cap, and Pisces are all going first this time, so please forgive me. Thank you for your patience and understanding, and I hope all of you have a beautiful birthday. All right, Aquarius, before I get started, I just want to remind everybody that I tend to read from Sun, Moon, and Rising, but feel free to apply this message to wherever Aquarius is in your chart. And please make sure you're only taking in the messages that resonate. All right, Aquarius, so this time you pulled religion, gossip, and is this me? You know, clearly here you may be dealing with a situation where people don't appreciate or understand your beliefs or belief structure. And there may be a loss of friendship due to the fact that, you are expressing your faith, your religion, your beliefs. Whatever is happening here, there's a lack of appreciation. But then there's also this question of, is this really who I am? But I'm not looking at that in terms of what you believe. I think that, there's plenty of structure when it comes to that. When I'm looking at this in regards to the people who are not accepting of that or are not understanding. But there's also the part of gossip where, these people start to realize that there was a lack of appreciation for, your creative talents. But it's interesting to me with religion showing up. So first of all, one of the things that it talks about is the structure and the family feeling of religions and how that can feel safe and secure. But it also talks about how it can be directed for good, and that this is a good time for you to practice, different rites, rituals, understanding the history and the tradition of the beliefs that you have, right? So there may be a family connection to the new structure of beliefs that, you're being more expressive about. But working with this card, it talks about learning all of the religions. This, to me, very much reminds me of something I said all the time. So when it comes to your beliefs, staying within a set structure is, totally up to you. Nobody can ever stand in judgment of your own beliefs, and you will always find facts to support those beliefs. The only time that changes is when you allow for new information to challenge what you believe. But I've always looked at it as the best way is to learn as much as possible and create your own structure of beliefs and faith, right? But your faith is what's important right now. But this, though, to me, is more about these people not appreciating that, right? So now back to religion. It says, now is the time to examine your heart and say, this is mine, this is what I worship, this is what I love. So this is where the expression of those beliefs are going to start to come into play. And then, of course, with gossip, again, we're talking about the loss of valued relationships. But that's because of a misunderstanding that is coming from possibly the people around you. It talks about the uniqueness of others, support for your vision, lack of appreciation, and refocusing your life, which makes me wonder if some of you aren't coming into new spiritual beliefs that are creating this kind of structure for you now. Now, is this me? The quote for this says, I cannot recognize myself, but I'm still me. And then the sentence says, I cannot recognize myself, as I can't remember the road that led me here or how I can see the road ahead. And then the going dark says, when did we last look at ourselves in a mirror? Do we like what we are? Make no excuses, because the choices which made what we are our responsibility. If an old dream is dead, it's time to dream anew. If the old dream is alive, it's time to go back to it. So that makes me wonder if, for some of you, you're making this choice to change your beliefs based on new information gained, right? By looking at other religions, other belief structures, whatever the case may be. But your expression of it may be questioning it. How do I put this? It's like, let me express what my beliefs are, but it's not meant to force anybody to believe the same thing. But you may be looking at, what you used to believe and are questioning on whether or not you feel like that's true for you anymore. I just don't like the cackling hen syndrome with gossip going on, right? But again, you changing your beliefs is your own business. And unfortunately, you may be dealing with people that don't get it. But if they lose the valued relationship that they have with you, that's on them, right? I mean, you have every right to question what you believe and, what you feel comfortable with in terms of your belief structure. But I almost feel like new information is coming to you that's going to make you change the way that, you see things in terms of faith and belief. But there's also that family connection that kind of comes into play. So, your ancestors' beliefs may be something that is coming up for some of you. It's like a deeper part of know thyself, right? You're overall the Wheel of Fortune. Okay. So, I like the wheel as far as things turning in a more positive direction, but we're still talking about a cycle that goes through its ebbs and flows, so to speak, right? But, if you look at where you are right now, you can see how cycles and patterns have been repeating themselves. So you'll be able to see where you're at within a cycle right now. But, this is things moving in a more positive direction. In the past, the Four of Pentacles, you ain't getting shit from me, I'm keeping everything. Hanging on to something, right? And it depends on what you're hanging on to. Especially when it has to do with the past. So for some of you, whatever past situation you were dealing with, it was something that you weren't willing to let go of, or it may have been difficult for you to accept change in order for the wheel to turn, right? But this is what I have, and I can't give anything else. In the present, the Eight of Swords. So I'm looking at the progression of this, and I'm looking at you hanging on to something and it turning into like a trap almost, as far as your thoughts go, right? So with the Eight of Swords, feeling trapped, feeling stuck, not being able to see a way out of a situation, but that's because of the thoughts that are being put in place, right? But it's like, I can't let go of this, but now I'm stuck with it. And this is where, it's time for things to start to change. Future conditions, geez, man, wow. The Nine of Wands, I'm just looking at this progression of energy moving through. So the Nine of Wands it's persistence and perseverance, absolutely, but we're talking about, guarding yourself, protecting what's important to you, being cautious of what you allow in. So this situation has put you through a lot, right? But you're working to the end of it. But you have to be able to let go of certain things that may have happened in the past. Because it's the feedback loop, right? It keeps you stuck with the same pattern of thoughts where you're not really going anywhere, you're not moving forward. But then when you do, it's like you use that kept you stuck as a defense almost. But regardless, right, the wheel is turning. Now, this could absolutely be about you getting out of a situation and you being more protective of yourself and your own interests, right? But again, we're still looking at things moving in a better direction. Your best path to follow, the Five of Pentacles. This is where I look at this, and especially with what you pulled in the Oracle, this is like, if I'm not wanted here, then I'm going to go ahead and leave, because clearly you're not getting what you need. It's not just being rejected, but, it's also kind of like playing into the fear that if you open up, that you're going to have things taken from you or being taken advantage of. But I look at this more so as, if I'm not wanted here, I can move on. And, I'm looking at this as your advice and looking at the Eight of Swords, and I have to wonder if this isn't a situation where it's like, continuing to hold on to something that you knew that you were going to have to let go of. But then there's also this, and I'm taking it all in. I'm looking at this and thinking, right, like, I have to reject this. I can't continue to allow, these thoughts to push me in a place where I'm not open to anything else. But this is really about something that you're dealing with where you're not getting anything from it. Oh my goodness. In your environment, the Ten of Wands, so yeah, right, like, the wheel in this situation is a good thing. The Ten of Wands, you're talking about the burden. Now, here's the thing, and I've always said this when it comes to the Ten of Wands. What do you think needs to happen before you can let go of it? Because now you're talking about something that you've been hanging on to that's keeping you trapped, and it's become a burden. And I think that, for some of you, it's almost like, I don't want to let go of this. But if you continue to hang on to it, you're just going to end up walking away feeling like it was worth nothing. But there's always that damn destination. What do you think has to happen? Where do you think you need to be before all of this is able to be released from you? But clearly here we're talking about a situation that has turned into not only you being stuck, but being overwhelmed. For some of you, you may have gotten involved in a situation where you were dealing with somebody that wasn't willing to give, right? Because I look back at this and I always think I'm not getting what I need. But if you've been holding on too tightly to a situation, I think you finally get to the point where, you're wanting freedom from it, and you're wanting the situation to be over with. But the problem that I'm seeing here with the Wheel of Fortune being the overall is, if you're constantly in this place where you're needing to, be vigilant and be on guard and setting these boundaries and all of this, aren't you just repeating the cycle then? And I say that because of this being your advice. I feel like, if this isn't recognized, that you're going to end up in this position where you don't feel, wanted or accepted in a certain situation or by somebody, right? But if we're talking about you not getting what you need, or somebody not helping and not, giving what they have, this is, you finally realizing that and needing to move on and, accepting that the burdens are being placed on you, yes, but, right, like, I don't feel like it's yours to carry, if that makes sense. Your hopes and your fears, the Ace of Wands, right? Like, yeah, that's what you want to be hoping for. A new beginning, right? And passion being reignited. But how are you going to see that, though, if you're repeating a pattern? And again, there's two ways to look at this with the Four of Pentacles coming through. It's either about something that you're not willing to let go of, or you're talking about a situation where you're not getting the assistance that would help you get out of this kind of situation where you feel overwhelmed, burdened, right? But I think that this may push you, though. This may finally push you to change the way things are going within this cycle and open up the door for a new beginning. And some of you may feel like you have to wait for that to show up before you decide to break yourself free of this. But the thing is that, I'm looking at this, if you continue the pattern, right, you're just going to end up feeling rejected, cast out, like you don't have what you need. Like, how do we relieve the pressure? Or is it time to just drop it? And is that where, you're moving into this not wanting to let anything in? But, clearly here you're hoping for a new beginning and you want this situation to kind of come to its conclusion. But it's a cycle that keeps going, though, and that's my problem. But again, this is a better opportunity for you, though, too. Now, for some of you, you may have been hanging on to a situation where you are not getting what you deserve in terms of work, but it's like, I can't let go of this because this is all that I have right now. And it's like, how do you get out of that, especially if you're carrying a huge load? But here, right, like here you're moving into this, I'm not stuck with this situation anymore. I'm protecting myself from it. Oh, yes. Okay, so coming out the Nine of Pentacles, right? And this is what I'm talking about, and things changing. So, first of all, we're talking about you being independent, right? And also there's the financial independence that comes with this. There is the security of home. There's the abundance and the ability to do and have all the things that make you happy, right? Like, if I want to spend some money on this, I can do that. And there's always that security that's there. So this makes me feel like, for some of you, you may be looking for a way out of a situation. but it may require you to, kind of like not only stand up for yourself, but to, deal with the situation in a way where you're still protecting what's important to you. And I almost feel like this is a fighting for yourself, right? But if you continue to stay within this pattern, it's going to leave you with, this feeling of having nothing or not having enough anymore. Not having what you need, right? But I like the fact that you come out with the Nine of Pentacles. Like, I'm worried right now, but there's at least enough clarity to know that the future doesn't have to remain in this same pattern. The King of Wands. The Ten of Cups, family, your overall happiness. And then the Magician, very nice. So, when you gain a sense of independence and freedom back, I think is where there's an ability here for you to create something much bigger, where I don't feel like some of you think that that's possible for you right now. The King of Wands and the Four of Pentacles. So, we could definitely be talking about a person here. And, I can't help but in this situation, in the way that this progresses, I can't help but looking at the King of Wands like this is somebody who may appear to have like an attractive offer, especially in terms of business, but is very self-centered, selfish, right? Arrogant. And for some of you, if we're talking about a relationship, there may have been a situation where either you or this person was, clinging on to certain things, or the relationship itself. But, nobody's giving here, right? Like, nobody's giving in this situation, which ends up in a place where, we're lacking. We don't have what we need. So that could be both of you, or it could be this person in particular. In terms of business, it's like, yeah, they may have what appears to be some original ideas and, attractive offers in terms of business. But, is it something that's worth investing into or continuing to do so if you're feeling overwhelmed or, loaded down by it? But I'm looking at you gaining some independence here. Now, in terms of you, this is where you may have been hanging on to something that is less than worthy of you and what you're capable of doing. But this is where, the best part of the King of Wands is being projected outward from you, right? The ability to follow your passion and doing it in such a way where, you can get others to follow you. That is what the King of Wands does, right? But you have the Ten of Cups after this, and whatever is going on here is blocking you from experiencing, the happiness that I think you were originally looking for in this situation. And for some of you, it may be this realization that, you are in a place where you may not need to work with a certain company, a person in particular, and realizing that you can kind of do things your own way on your own, which then helps you to focus more on, the family, the happily ever after, your emotional fulfillment. And then you have the powerhouse of the Magician. And, I look at this and it's funny because I've heard many times that anger and frustration can be really beneficial when it comes to, really manifesting something big in your life. But this is where I feel like for some of you, you're kind of taking the power back into your own hands in what gets created in your world, right? Where you're not left in this place of, I'm not getting what I need from this. But again, that goes directly back to this whole situation of the Four of Pentacles and this King of Wands. But either way, I'm looking at, a separation that's happening. Now, on the other hand, though, this independence may be opening the door for a new opportunity with someone in particular. And you have this overall happiness, but the both of you may be manifesting something really big, right? But because it's the Nine of Pentacles, I feel more so it's you gaining your own independence here. And being, more wise about what you're doing as far as following your passion, right? Which is where the King of Wands is coming in. But the Magician, that's big, right? Like, not allowing others to dictate what you choose to manifest. And that's where you're kind of breaking the pattern. But then also I feel like, there's this kind of like warning, like, hey, you don't need to keep repeating this. And if you do, you may end up in a place where you just feel lack. Truth. Be open to truth and believe. Now, I look at this and I'm going back to the Oracle cards, and this may be where the structure of your beliefs and your faith may be causing some issues with someone in particular in your work, whatever the case may be. But being open to believing a new truth for you, I think, is what's important here looking at this. Wow, man. But you may be coming into a new truth, that kind of changes your perspective. Distant thunder, clear the air. Truth. Somebody needing a dose of the truth. And then rejuvenating rain, clear the past, heal the present. I like it. And I like the fact that, you're still coming out with this sense of security and independence that's built on your own. But at the same time, you're protecting yourself and what's important. And I think that it does have to do with your overall happiness, which I think was something that you expected, getting involved with whatever this is in the first place. But again, there's no giving, right? So just be aware of repeating patterns and understand where you are within this cycle right now. You don't want to continue it the way that it is. Take advantage of things turning in a different direction, especially if it's positive for you. And be aware of the people that you are connected with that aren't willing to open up to, who you are and what you are creating for yourself and what you choose to believe, right? There's no point in keeping closed-minded people around you, because that just totally destroys any opportunity for continued growth, right? I hope that helped. I hoped it made sense. Sometimes I wonder. But thank you so much, Aquarius, and I hope to see you guys again soon.